Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. Now you can see this other problem where if we're towards the top of the screen, it's like adjusting so that we're right at the top of the screen. But really, it would be great if we're still centered nicely. But because we're using the built-in camera, it kind of does its own thing. So one thing we could do, which probably won't make much difference at the minute, is using a camera pointer. So this kind of tells the default built-in camera the direction, the angle it should be pointing in, but it's still the default built-in camera, so it still has that same issue we're talking about. So we're going to make our own camera rig, which is actually easier than it sounds. We'll have a cube, and this cube will move around with the player, and the camera will be stuck to the cube, and that's about it. So if we stick a chip on here, and we don't want this to be visible or collidable, it's just to hold logic. It's a logic cube. Cool, so I want this box to follow the player. So I'll have a tag in here, which, as we talked about earlier, is just a point in the scene. Turn that off. And so we can say this tag is like in the center of the puppet, or we can have it follow the head or wherever we want. I'm just going to put it there. And we'll give this a name. And we'll call it player. And then in this box, we'll just turn off preview invisibility, and then we can see the invisible stuff. And we want this box to follow that tag. So we'll get a follower and tweak it. And because this this chip is surface snapped onto here, so when I made it, I held L1 and then put it over here and then let go of R2, or place it if you're placing a gadget. And now that is linked to that object, and you can see the gizmo is at the center of this object. So any gadgets in here will affect this object, including this follower. So if we give it the right tag name, so I could go in here and type it in, or I can use up and down on the D-pad to go through all the tags in the scene. So I'll use the player tag and then just play it, and now you can see it trying to follow that tag. It's all kind of wobbling, so we want it to be full strength and dampening, and it will just go there and stay there. But we also want it to be really fast so that it just gets there immediately. So if I make this big, you can do that, or L1 and square, and you can edit this number. And I just tend to put in a huge number by holding X on one of the numbers, and then go done, and now that maxes out that speed, and it just kind of snaps there instantly. So now we add a camera. Camera. And if we scope into the camera with L1 and X, we can see through that camera, and you can see on the end of the imp it's got a camera icon, which means we're actually moving this camera around. So if we want it to be side on, we can look side on. If we want it to be kind of up like that, we can look up like that, and this is where the puppet will be in relation to our view. So now we've kind of got that view, and if we want it to be look down a bit, we can just adjust it like that. And it's all just sorted. And something I would recommend is changing it to cut mode. Normally when you're like over here in the scene and then you go edit into play mode, it can take a while for it to kind of transition to where the camera is. But I tend to put it on cut mode, and then it's instantly there. So now it follows no matter what, even if you go up really far. Yeah, so I'll just have a button to respawn it. So I'll go into here and I'll use the touchpad going into the respawn input, and that's what will destroy this copy and make a new copy wherever we're meant to respawn. So I can like go over here and the camera's still following, and if I push the touchpad, then we've respawned and the camera is still following, but it's taking a while to get there. Is it even... it's out of range even. So a follower has this range, which is normally huge and way bigger than you need, but now it's like out of range. So you could increase this, but really you want you don't want it to have to move slowly towards the character again. So I'm going to teleport this to the spot that it respawns at. So I'll have a teleporter. So I'll just turn this off for the minute. Teleporter aims at a tag as well. Cool, so you could just leave it teleporting if you want to match 1-to-1 at all times. But then when I respawn, it will teleport to it because that's the new position of the tag. But the cool thing with the follower is you can make the strength a bit lower or the speed a bit lower. And now it kind of has a bit more of a smooth easing to it. That's the idea. Yeah, but now we have this teleporter. We want to turn that teleporter on when we respawn so that it snaps to the new spot. So, like, if with just the follower, you can see it's got to move over to the new spot. So there's like a bit of delay. So ideally you want that to teleport, so we use a timeline. So a timeline will just play once. If there's no other logic going on, it will just play once as soon as it can. So that is when this gets spawned, it will do the thing. So what do we want it to do? We want it to turn on the teleporter. Just at the moment it respawns and then do nothing. So it will turn on the teleporter and then it will get to here and the teleporter will be off again. And it will have the normal following behavior. So now, if I push it, it teleports back. If I try being further away, it teleported again. So it just teleports the moment you respawn. So that's exactly what we want. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.